do they have to trade Durant? Because he's under contract for 4 years.
Yeah.
If there's no deal out there that they love, why do they have to trade him? Why can't they roll this over? And what do they care? It's the summer anyway. It's not like they have to all see each other in training camp. So maybe they just say, hey, look, we tried. We didn't like anything out there, and you're under contract. And, we made a commitment to you. We thought you made a commitment to us, and we're good. We're not going to sabotage our team. We don't have any draft picks because of you. So we're keeping you. I feel like that could happen.
It definitely could happen. And especially when you start kind of gaming through this stuff and looking at what are the deals that could plausibly be on the table. Who are the all-star level players or better that the Nets could get back? That list is pretty short. There really aren't a lot of teams in position to offer those kinds of trade packages right now. And that's what the Nets need, because they basically owe either the pick outright or a pick swap every year from now until 2028. Yep. They are not in a position to tank. They have to be competitive. And so then, is DeAndre Ayton and Mikal Bridges enough and some picks? Is that the kind of thing that's going to move the needle for the Nets for not just this season, but basically their immediate future? Is that going to be what they're going to stake their franchise on? I don't think so. And that's where the rubber is really hitting the road in terms of Durant flexing his power and wanting to get to a new situation versus I would think a collection of offers in terms of just the most logical contenders who would line up that aren't super clean fits in terms of what they could return for the Nets.
Can he really chase a title again? Like this, he worked so hard to not have that be his legacy, right? That all that did was drive his leaving the Warriors and going to Brooklyn decision. He'd be like, oh, you think I'm sitting in the backseat of this championship? Watch this. I'm going to create my own thing. Then if he goes and plays with Booker and Chris, aren't we back to square one? Like, I know he won't go to the Lakers and play with LeBron, but if he's joining somebody else's team, aren't we back to square one with this? Like, I can't imagine he's not thinking about that.
It's a great question in terms of like, what is Kevin Durant going to find satisfying at this point? Like about whether he joins the Suns, like what are the kinds of situations that would be fulfilling to him when he's been very explicit and very vulnerable about how unfulfilling winning the titles with the Warriors were for him personally, and how he never felt the way he thought he was going to feel. I guess maybe it's a little different if you join a team like the Suns and you're pushing them over the hump, a team that hasn't won it. Maybe that's what he could see as being, a differentiating factor. But I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if even if he wins another title, if he gets to the end of it and says, this isn't quite what I expected either. That's kind of the reality of chasing this stuff in that way. And it's, again, another big part of the reason why he wanted to build something in Brooklyn on his terms, to his specifications, to his prescriptions from coach on down in terms of how that team was run. And the fact that it dissolved the way it did, I don't know what is left for him to chase, maybe but this. So maybe this is by default the last thing left is, if nothing else, if I can't build something like that, at least I'm going to win as much as I can on my way out.
Which is why the Boston scenario makes no sense for him. I think weirdly OKC is the best, just on paper, most organic move for him, but it'll never happen. But you know what? I left. I became a man. I made hundreds of $millions in investments. I created this whole 35 Ventures thing. Like, I did everything I wanted to do off the court. And now I want to go back to where it started and try to bring OKC a title. I think people would respect that. I think the New Orleans piece straight up for Zion would be another fun one, right? I'm going to go to a smaller market. This team's loaded. I am the piece that will push it over the top and do it that way, whether it's for Zion or even Brandon Ingram. But, again, would he want to do that? He's been in a big city really since 2016. Would he want to go small? I don't see it.
The tough thing about OKC is if that happened, I think it would be such an echo of LeBron going back to Cleveland.
Yeah.
That even then it wouldn't be his story. Even then he would kind of be in the shadow of this other thing. So you're right. Whether Boston, I think the history of those franchises is not quite what he would be looking for from a narrative standpoint. OKC, you have this other thing kind of looming over it. Maybe a team like New Orleans or just a young team, again, that doesn't have that same kind of historical footprint. And that way, like, it's Kevin Durant is the guy who got you to the place that no other star player could. That would be kind of an ideal situation. But that I don't know that teams like New Orleans are really close enough to be a Kevin Durant away. Maybe he's that good that he could push them there, but I'd be a little bit skeptical.
As we're talking this out, I'm becoming more and more convinced he doesn't get traded. It's actually the best move for him not to get traded. The best move for him is if they can figure out a Kyrie thing, and the Kyrie to the Lakers smoke is just flying off the handle these days.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you could talk it into the Westbrook and picks, even if it was, you could flip Westbrook for a second asset, whatever, but just talk Kitty like, look, let's play this out. Let's get to the season. I wonder how toxic and how unhappy it's become. I guess we'll find out. Some other signings today, just audibly, because we've had a bunch of them. Milwaukee kept their team together. And I thought that's going to get lost in all this. And everybody, like, we just spent 30 minutes talking about KD. Milwaukee kept Portis, they kept Matthews, they kept Javon Carter, who I thought they should have played in the Boston series. And then they got Joe Ingles, who'll be back mid-season. And I thought that was a great signing for them. I mean, we don't know if when he's going to be 100% and if he's going to be 100%, but perfect fit for them. Somebody who can play a little point forward for them, somebody who will fit in defensively, somebody with a 3-point shot. Like, I can just see him on that team. And I was immediately bummed out. I was like, because obviously I'm a Celtic fan, but I was bummed out. What was your reaction to that one?
Ingles, the fit, you're absolutely right. Super clean. His playmaking for them is going to be so important. Just his ability to connect, all of these very static possessions we see from Milwaukee, where we're pulling our hair out. Like, why aren't you doing something a little more interesting, a little more dynamic? Where's the movement to this offense?
Right.
And it's so much just like a Giannis driving kick to one guy, or maybe there's a swing and a shot. Now all of a sudden you have Ingles, who hopefully coming back from the injury is as mobile as he was, and is able to create as much as he did. I think that could do a lot for them. But I think ultimately you're right. Like, the main message of Milwaukee's moves for the day is we feel pretty good about where we are, that our playoff loss was more a function of Chris Middleton being injured than anything like endemic to our roster.
And they're right.
I think they're right to think that. But it's also kind of a league-wide trend where, Durant was this seismic moment, and I think a lot of the league is still reeling from that, because the deals that went through today, it was a lot of players re-signing. It was a lot of business, culminating that kind of business, especially on the higher end of the salary scale. We didn't really see a lot of big money players other than Jalen Brunson change teams.